Okay, let's get started. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about earthquake preparedness. Just very quickly, any logistical questions about the class before we jump in? Excellent. Okay, so a couple. What's going on? Couple of announcements. First of all, you should all have signed up for a GSI by now on BSpace. If you have not done it, sort of by the end of the day tomorrow, perhaps we will just start assigning you to a GSI. So last chance for you to sign up. Obviously, the idea is that you will be available to go meet with your GSI at during his office hours. That's how you should be selecting your GSI. But at the same time, you can always go and talk to one of the other GSIs in their office hours if you can't make your GSI's office hour, just so you know. And then the second one is that your first assignment following today's lecture, now's the time to start working on the first assignment. The first assignment is about earthquake preparedness, and that's what we're going to talk about today. As for all of the assignments, you'll find them on the class website, which you should all hopefully know by now. There's an assignments tab just below the lectures tab, and that's where you will find all of the assignments available to you. They are all there right now. Do not do them all right now because we haven't covered the material. I will tell you when is a good time to start doing the assignments based on the material that we're covering. It also shows you this on the syllabus, and of course all due dates are on the syllabus. That's the one location where you will find all of the due dates is on the syllabus. And I forget what the due date for the first assignment is, but you can find it on the syllabus. Okay? So before we jump into today's lecture, just in case there is any further need for motivation on anybody's part as to why you should be concerned about earthquakes, I wanted to, why is this not? Wanted to show you some results from that little web exercise I asked you to do. I don't know why my screen is misbehaving. So as part of that, who are you, I think I called it, that I asked you to fill out after the first assignment, of course, I asked you to put in the latitude and the longitude of your home, what you consider your home where you grew up, and also where you currently live on campus. And so here's the results of that. Not too surprisingly, most of you, that's fine. Most of you are from California, and needless to say, the origin points that you all come from pretty much represents the population distribution of California. I guess that's something to be advertised to our state legislator. But there are some of you who are not from California, so let's take a look. So the rest of the US isn't particularly well represented. However, we can, I can't read this is far too small. Can you read that? Is it going to get bigger? Christina from Nebraska. Is Christina here? Hi. Somebody here. Is this Denver? I'm guessing this is Denver, Christopher? Apparently he dropped the class. But let's keep going around the globe. We have a Canadian. At least I think we have a Canadian. Only one. Kimberly? All right, Kimberly's here. Excellent. Let's keep going. Sorry, I don't seem to be able to control this very well without a mouse. Anybody from Europe? Usually I go and put in where I grew up, and I didn't on this time. It doesn't look like we have a single person from Europe, really. Wow, okay. We seem to have quite a few people from Africa, and perhaps more remarkably, they all seem to be from along a single straight line. One of them is, in fact, in the Mediterranean. I think this is beginning to tell us something. Oh, apparently this person could not only not enter the latitude and longitude very well, but struggled with their name. This one doesn't have a name. And another W. Okay, I'm not quite sure what's going on there. This is actually the zero meridian. I can tell that because if I zoom out a little bit, you can see that it lines up with Greenwich in London. So this is somehow somebody entered bad data, and we ended up with a zero longitude. So that's why. Okay, let's keep going. There was one over here that I saw this morning I thought was a particularly interesting location, right in the middle of the Dead Sea Rift. I can't read that. I don't know how to pronounce that. Paz? Oh, right. Okay, thank you. So is Maritza here? Willing to admit to where they really come from? No? Okay, all right, we're going to keep going. I'm sorry, I'm having too much fun. I should stop because we're already behind, but I can't help it. So we're going to keep going. We have somebody from India, and I think this is correct. Kartik, from Delhi. Is Kartik here? Dear, oh dear. Do we have a Kartik? Oh dear, strike. Note that down, William. And then finally, we have a number of people from China. However, we don't have as many people as it might seem. I will show you why. Believe it or not, there is an educational value to what I'm about to do. So first of all, somebody up here. I don't know how to pronounce it. Y-A-O? Yao? Wow, you guys are much better at this than I am. Is Yao here? Well, I point out, here I am. I'm highlighting those of you who are not from California, and they're not even here. Okay, but then I wanted to point out some of these. First of all, somebody, Anna, Monica. These don't sound like very Chinese names. Never mind about the fact that the location's Rebecca, Sophia, and Anna again. I can't read that. What figure? Okay, let's just keep going. Okay, well, these obviously are Chinese names, and they are actually on mainland China, so who knows? It might be right. Either of you two here? could actually be torn in pieces. Well, there we go, that's better. That building could be torn in pieces, and so that is a concern. It's a concern for the foothill dormitory as well. And in fact, we'll talk about this when we do our campus tour. The foothill dormitory is built on a big concrete slab with the hope that the fault will not be able to rupture that concrete slab. But as with many of these things, of course, this is all a big experiment, and we have to wait for the earthquake until we really know for sure. Okay, any questions, comments before we get back to today's lecture? All right. Okay. So, we're going to talk about earthquake preparedness. The bottom line here, and I've already said this at least 5 times in this class, is that all of us as individuals are responsible for what happens to us and our friends and our families in the next earthquake. So it really is on you to be responsible and minimize the impacts of the future earthquake. Very simple things that you can do really will make a big difference to your overall experience during the next big earthquake and following the next big earthquake. And of course, we're not talking about something similar to what happened in Napa. We're talking about something that will be a much larger magnitude earthquake, an earthquake that's much closer, perhaps something that is more similar to what the residents of Napa are going through right now as they continue to work their way through the cleanup process. Okay? So I want to point you to this. I'm not going to show you this now. It's a 4-minute video, the Berkeley Earthquake Awareness Review. It was made by a group of students about 3 or 4 years ago at this point. It actually came out of a freshman seminar class. The idea of the freshman seminar class was just to talk about earthquakes. We started talking about earthquakes. They were so outraged at how little information they had been provided as students about the earthquake risk and what they should do in preparation for those events that they decided to put together this video, and it's on the Berkeley website. I have no idea whether the campus the folks who deal with student accommodations point students to it or what kind of information you get, to be honest. But it's a 4-minute video, and it covers all the key points. It's linked from the class website. No excuses. Go and watch it rather than that cat doing tricks on YouTube later today. Okay? All right, but we're going to work our way through what an earthquake preparedness plan is. The reading for today is one of these 2 documents. They're sort of the same. It's just one is tailored towards Northern California because it has a picture of San Francisco, and one is tailored towards Southern California because it has a picture of Los Angeles. Either one, you don't need to read both, but the reading for today is to read one of these two brochures, and you will find links to them both on the class website alongside the notes. Okay? And the key piece here is the 7 steps to earthquake safety. These are the things that you as an individual need to work your way through. The first assignment actually focuses on this, and so that's why you can start thinking about the assignment. And we're going to work our way through these 7 steps for the rest of today. Okay? One last stab at trying to motivate you to do something about this. Okay? So why take actions? Why is it important to do something now before the next earthquake occurs? So things to consider. So your life will undoubtedly change unexpectedly when we have a big earthquake on the magnitude 7 fault. It's perhaps easier to see that given that we just had the Napa quake, although the news cycle, of course, decays very rapidly, and so there's not much talk about the Napa quake anymore, but you can easily go back and see the impact that the Napa quake had on the residents of Napa. You need to think about the fact that when that earthquake occurs, you need to know, or you're going to want to know, where your friends and where your family are in that earthquake. If the earthquake is up here on the San Andreas fault, on the Hayward fault or the San Andreas fault, not only is it going to affect you and your friends here on the Berkeley campus, but those of you who live in the Bay Area or who have families in the Bay Area, it's obviously going to affect them as well. And the first thing you're going to want to know is, where are your friends and family? How will you know that? Friends could be anywhere across campus. They could be away at home or on some other trip. Family members could be at work. They could be at school or somewhere in between. And then pets. Everybody gets very concerned about their pets. They may run away. I don't have a pet. Did you have a question? So I always talk about the Hayward. The question was that I always talk about the Hayward fault, but how serious would an earthquake on the San Andreas fault be as well? So it would be less. The strength of the shaking, well, it depends on the magnitude of the earthquake. If you have a magnitude 8 on the San Andreas fault, then the shaking here in Berkeley is not hugely different from the shaking we would get from a magnitude 7 on the Hayward fault. So an earthquake on the San Andreas fault, because it's on the San Andreas fault and it's further away, does not mean we don't have to worry about it. It does not mean that it's a scenario that we shouldn't be concerned about. It is. San Francisco is in the fortunate or unfortunate situation. It pretty much sits halfway between the Hayward fault and the San Andreas fault. So an earthquake on either one of those faults will have a very similar effect on the city of San Francisco because it's located right in the middle. Okay? Yeah, just please stop me with any questions as we go through this. Okay, how will you get home is the next question. So let's say we have that magnitude 7 earthquake. A lot of the infrastructure on the Berkeley campus is down. There's no power, there's no water. And so you want to get out. There's a lot of people in a very small area. Drinking water and food is going to run out very quickly here. And you're going to want to get home. How are you going to get home? We've seen the damage that occurred to the Bay Bridge after the Loma Prieta earthquake. Of course, they've now built a new bridge. But we talked about this liquefaction problem, which is not something that really can be remedied. And there's a reasonable likelihood that multiple large portions of the highway system will not be passable. So how are you going to get home? Public transportation, buses, and BART ferries. The reason that they keep the ferries going, they run at a huge loss. They keep the ferries going because of the concern that they're going to be really necessary after an earthquake. But many of these services may be down. BART, I think I already mentioned this, BART just invested $1 billion to improve its infrastructure in the hope that it will not be down, and that it will be the way that we can move people around and specifically move people out of the most damaged areas. But again, we have to wait and see. Commute times will be dramatically increased. This is kind of more of a practical point. This is not the 2 or 3 days after the earthquake. This is a week later. Okay, so it's one thing when there's an earthquake and we're all in immediate response mode, but a week later people want to get back to their lives. And so the question of how will people get to work will be a real issue because commutes will not be the same because there will not be a highway system that is operating very effectively. So how will you get home? Will you have medical services? Undoubtedly there will be injuries associated with the earthquake. And will you have access, if it's you or a friend, will you have access to medical services? The 911 switchboard will be completely overloaded. I can tell you I used to be at the University of Wisconsin, and we had a very small, I think it was a magnitude 3 earthquake in northernmost Illinois that was felt across much of Wisconsin. And in Madison, Wisconsin, there were so many calls to the 911 center that the 911 center went offline. From a magnitude 3 earthquake about, 50 miles away, they didn't do any damage. Okay? So this is a real issue, is a lot of the emergency response systems that we rely on are going to be struggling to continue to operate. Hospitals and other medical facilities may be damaged. This was a real source of concern. This is a photo of a hospital in Southern California after the 1971 San Fernando earthquake. And in particular, this collapsed piece was the entrance to the emergency center, right, the ER. And so the fact that the hospital was down obviously meant that they couldn't provide any support. Even if the hospital is in working condition, they're obviously going to be overloaded, right? It's going to be a triage situation. You'll be fighting to get emergency care. So you need to be thinking about looking after ourselves, our friends, our family, the people around us. We are going to have to be self-reliant for a number of days after the earthquake. will you be able to stay in your dorm, your apartment, your house? Okay? So depending on what's happened to the structure that you live in, it may not be habitable. So this is an example of a home damaged in the Loma Prieta earthquake. This red tag here means that an inspector has come to look at it and has deemed it as unsafe occupation. Nobody is allowed in a red tag building. There are 3 tags. These were plastered all over Napa a few weeks ago. Green tag is everything's fine. Yellow tag is that there's some source of concern that has to be remedied, and it's written on the tag what the issue is. Okay? It's very clear. And then red tags are nobody's allowed in this building. No exceptions. Okay? We'll also say why, but nobody's allowed in red tag buildings. This is an apartment building. I'm going to continue to mention this frequently. This is a soft-story apartment building that had parking for cars on the ground floor, and then the apartment building was above it, and soft-story apartment building collapsed during the earthquake. Yeah. So the comment was, well, if you're in an apartment, you don't own it, you rent an apartment, will the landlords help find an apartment? Anybody like to guess? No way. Oh, sorry, was that too strong? I can't imagine that they would. The landlords, it's not, it's not the landlord's problem. I mean, the building, what's happened to the building is the landlord's problem, but what happens to the occupants is not the landlord's problem. This is one of the, excuse me, this is one of the real issues, is that it can be very difficult. So when it's your own home, when it's my home, for example, I have a vested interest in retrofitting the home so that it withstands an earthquake. Not only so that, I'm safer and my family's safer during an earthquake, but also